Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at the rather odd and kind of interesting item known as the Patriarch, which is definitely a term, that means like the father or like the person at the top of the household, the head of the household, things like that. This particular item is a great sword, which is a rather large weapon, and also, of course, can be used as a one-handed weapon by barbarians. This weapon is 26 to 44 one-handed damage, 55 to 92 two-handed damage. It has a dexterity requirement of 60 and a strength requirement of 100, which is relatively high for the level requirement of only 29. The attack speed is a normal attack speed, and it does have a rather pretty look to it, as you can see. Very nice red effect, and you could put on two of them and you could have two very nice red blades. It's a very cool looking blade as far as I'm concerned, especially if we get it nice in the light, so it has a nice little shine to it. Let's get that. Let's go up here by the fire. Ooh, then it'll really glow, right? Yeah. So it also has a very nice enhanced damage of 120%, which is relatively high for normal uniques. I'm pretty sure that that's one of the highest enhanced damages for normal unique items. It is overshadowed by nightmare uniques, but still. It does vary a little bit of 100 to 120%, so a little 20% variable there. It also has a hit blinds target on it, which is absolutely great. Anytime you blind a target, the monster is kind of restricted to its basically what it can see at its feet, or rather what it can touch. So it won't attack you unless you are literally within melee range, which means that any monster that is not a melee monster, like for instance a archer or a spellcaster, when they're blinded, they do nothing. They just stand there and look dumb. It also has a plus 10 strength on it, which is definitely very nice, especially if you were wielding two of them, because you'd have plus 20 strength, which means you could put on some other items. The strength also acts as a off-weapon ED of 1% per point. We also have damage reduced by 3 and magic damage reduced by 3, which is going to cut any damage that comes in by a flat 3, which is not super duper useful by level 29, but it's still going to help keep you alive, especially if you were using two of these, because they would stack for a total of plus 6 damage reduced by and plus 6 magic damage reduced by. We also have a rather large amount of gold for monsters on this of 100%. And theoretically, if you were to try and build a low-level gold find barb and use two Patriarchs with 100% a pop, that is, of course, going to be a rather nice 200% gold find, which you could also stack together with things like gold skin, chances, gold wrap, and you could get a rather large amount of gold find rather quickly, as well as maybe some gold find charms. So it's interesting to consider the Patriarch as a gold find source, because 100% is a rather large amount of gold find, and you could build up gold relatively quickly and do some gambling, just in general have a large amount of gold to do with what you need to do. You can, of course, upgrade these, and if you upgrade this to the Nightmare difficulty, the Exceptional, you're going to need a Ral Rune, a Soul Rune, and a Perfect Emerald. It's going to upgrade to the... I'm trying to remember what the name of the Exceptional version is, but I guess we're going to find out, won't we? So it's going to go from the Great Sword, 26 to 44, 55 to 92, 60 dex, 100 strength, level 29, to the Executioner's Sword, 52 to 88, 103 to 176 two-handed, and 110 dex and 170 strength. That 170 strength is a lot, in my opinion, and quite honestly might be detrimental, especially if you were only level 34. It's going to be very difficult to be able to wield an item that requires 170 strength. Might have to put a Hell Rune in that so you can actually utilize it. Now, the Ethereal version can also be upgraded, and that would also take a Ral, a Soul, and a Perfect Emerald. And that is going to be 39 to 66, 81 to 138, 50 Dexterity, 90 Strength, level 29, to 79 to 132 damage, 154 to 264 for two-handed, 100 dex, and 160 strength. Might not make a bad choice for an Act 5 barbarian, but not going to be able to utilize that on an actual barbarian because, of course, at level 34, there's no way that you could make it indestructible. And without being able to make it indestructible, it would eventually break and would be of no use to you anymore. We can also upgrade this another time to the Elite version, which is probably going to be a bad idea, but let's do it anyway. It's a Pole Rune, a Lum Rune, and a Perfect Emerald. And it's going to go from the Patriarch Executioner Sword, 52 to 88, 103 to 176, 110 dex, 170 strength, level 34, to the Patriarch Colossus Blade, 55 to 143 one-handed, 127 to 253 two-handed, 110 dex, 189 strength, and level 75. It's interesting that the strength didn't actually go up that much, and neither did the dex go up that much over the Nightmare version. It's kind of interesting that the Nightmare version is pretty much identical in requirements to the Hell version. The Ethereal version can also be upgraded with the same runes from 79 to 132, 154 to 264, 100 dex, 160 strength, level 34, to 81 to 213, 191 to 378 two-handed damage, 100 dex, 179 strength, and level 75. Probably not the best item to upgrade to Tier 3. It didn't really seem like a good upgrade to Tier 2 either because of the massive 170 strength requirement. It seems like it would be better off left at Tier 1 and utilized for the extra gold find. If you wanted to find this particular item, it's probably going to be something that you're going to farm in normal difficulty. But I would like to take this out real quick and show you the hits blinds target. And it is important to note that the hits blinds target does decrease in difficulty as you progress forward, or increase in duration as you progress forward. In normal difficulty, it's going to be the longest duration. In Nightmare difficulty, it's going to be cut in half, I believe. And in Hell difficulty, it gets cut down to 33% of its normal duration. So do keep that in mind. And already killed everything here. And this is the blind effect. As you can see, when a monster is blinded, he really can't do very much. But unfortunately, it can be overwritten by other curses as well, and you are going to have to keep that in mind. This particular item in normal difficulty is probably fairly useful. The hits blinds target can be extremely useful in normal. And at level 29, which is when you get this, it's perfect for a Whirlwind Barbarian. And Whirlwind is great with blind effects. Blind actually does work with Whirlwind, despite the fact that no other chance to cast effect works with Whirlwind. I guess hits blinds target isn't really considered a chance to cast. Let's take a look over at Silo's Pen, and let's see where you could potentially find this item. I'm not really quite sure because I haven't really found a lot of these Patriarchs myself. I don't really tend to find them, to be honest. We're going to assume about 100% magic find, specifically because, of course, you know, this is a level 29 item. So if we're trying to find this on level, we're definitely going to have a little bit of trouble trying to find it because our magic find is still going to be kind of low. Of course, if you were trying to farm this later on as a higher level character, you could type in, you know, higher magic find than that. But we're going to go to Silo's Pen, 100% magic find, and we're going to look at bosses first. And we're going to see what our probability would be. So we would really prefer normal difficulty. So let me check normal difficulty first before we go to Nightmare. Not a lot of choices in normal, but it does look like Diablo has a 1 in 653, and Bale has a 1 in 515. So if you were to farm Diablo, which sounds like a pretty good choice at level 29, there's a pretty good chance you could end up with a Patriarch killing Diablo quite a few times with at least 100% magic find. Let's take a look at super uniques as well in normal difficulty and see what kind of probability we've got here. It does look like Pindle has a halfway decent chance at 1 in 6,000. Thresh Socket at 1 in 6,000. So those are two monsters that you could farm relatively easily. Neelathak is 1 in 4,000, and Neelathak is actually pretty easy to farm. I actually have a video up for Neelathak if you guys are interested. I go over exactly how to find him, how to know exactly which way to go depending on what map variation you get, and if you learn my technique, I think you will find Neelathak relatively easily every single time without fail. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and if you're interested in the Patriarch for some type of gold find build, put it in the comments down below. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. And as always, Thanks for watching, and keep watching.